Welcome back everyone. Today we learn about the reflex arc. What is a reflex? A reflex action is an immediate response to a specific stimulus, without conscious control, and it does not normally pass through the brain for decision making. It contrasts with voluntary action, which is with conscious control. Let's look at the difference between a reflex action and a voluntary action. A reflex action is automatic, meaning there is no conscious thought given to it. A voluntary action, on the other hand, requires conscious thought. A reflex action has an immediate or rapid response. On the other hand, a voluntary action has a delayed response or requires a longer response time. A reflex action is a specific response to a specific stimulus, whereas a voluntary action is not specific in nature. A reflex action involves a receptor and sensory neuron, but a voluntary action may or may not involve a receptor or sensory neuron. Lastly, a reflex action is not initiated in the brain, but a voluntary action is initiated in the brain. Some example of reflex actions are as shown. Do take note of the type of reflex action it is classified as, which organ of the central nervous is involved, the stimulus and the effector. Now, let's take a look at the reflex arc. A reflex arc is the neural pathway along which nerve impulses travel from the receptor to the effector during a reflex action. The general pathway is as such. There is a stimulus, which is detected by a receptor. The sensory neuron transmit the nerve impulse to the CNS, which transmit the nerve impulse to the motor neuron and then to the effector, where a response is carried out. An example of a reflex arc is as described. Firstly, pain receptor in the hand detects pain from a pinprick. Nerve impulses are generated and transmitted along the sensory neuron in the arm to the spinal cord via the dorsal root. In the spinal cord, nerve impulses are transmitted across a synapse to a relay neuron using neurotransmitters. Also in the spinal cord, nerve impulses are transmitted along across another synapse from the relay neuron to a motor neuron using neurotransmitters. Finally, the motor neuron transmits the nerve impulse to a muscle in the arm to make it contract and withdraw the hand. That's all for today. Thank you for the effort to learn with me. Stay tuned for more interesting lessons. See you next time. Bye-bye.